I'm back. Hello, I'm Agent Ghost and welcome to the archives. And I wanted to bring you one of my favorite, fun, easy builds. Enjoy.
I'm hungry. I'm going in! I'm with you.
Reinforcements incoming.
Incapacity. They're almost on me! Shit!
Welcome back! I'm so excited to show off this easy build and for the optimized version, which will be coming in the following video after this one. Anywho, let's move on to the rest of the build breakdown. Starting things off with the specialization, I'm using the gunner specialization for the plus 10% armor on kill it provides, as well as access to having the Banshee Pulse skill, and we'll go over that later on in the video. Moving on to the weapons, I'm currently using the AC-12 shotgun to build stacks with the striker gear set, the whole big enchilada of this entire build. There are the core attributes if you want to pause and take a look. I only want to pay mine to the regular attribute, which is damage targets out of cover that I have on the AC-12 shotgun. And I'm using the damage targets out of cover because it's the highest multiplicative attribute in the entire game currently. Now, I also have the talent preservation rolled on my AC-12 shotgun. You can roll whatever you want, really. Again, we're just using this to build stacks, but I'm using preservation, which does killing an enemy repairs 10% armor over 5 seconds. Headshot kills improve the repair by additional 10%, which is just more survivability, and I really like it with that. So that's why I'm using it, but again, use what you want. Now, there are the mods if you want to copy and paste. Just pause the video. Now moving on to the assault rifle that I'm using the FAL assault rifle. It's just, again, you can use kind of whatever assault rifle that you want in this build, but I'm using this just because it hits really hard and it's one of my favorite non-named or exotic assault rifles in the entire game. Now again, I have damage targets out of cover and the regular attribute, and in the talent I've rolled Optimist, which weapon damage is increased by 3% for every 10% ammo missing from the magazine. So just more damage as we are emptying our magazine on the enemies. We get even more damage, which is just awesome. Now there are the mods. If you want to copy and paste, please do so and pause. Now for my pistol, I'm just using the Orbit pistol. I know I said I'm not using any named variants in my easy build, but I'm not using this in the gameplay or anything like that. It's just my placeholder in all my build videos when I don't have a designated sidearm. Please use whichever pistol you want, but there are the core and regular attributes if you want to take a look, as well as there's the talent and mods if you want to pause, copy, and paste. That moves on to my next part before we go into the gear. So this is a disclaimer I like to say for all of my build breakdowns. Please, for all my builds and any videos you watch from me, they are just like starting templates, and I highly want to encourage every one of my viewers to please make any changes you see fit in the build, whether that's skills, gear, weapons. Please make any changes you want. Be creative and have fun. That's the whole point of the game. Now moving on to the gear set, I'm using the striker gear set, and we're going with the striker masks. We're going to start off with that. Now, when you have 2 pieces of the striker gear set, you get plus 15% weapon handling, which you can look at any weapon and scroll down past the regular attribute, and there's weapon handling, and that plus 15% will affect the accuracy, stability, reload time, and damage drop-off, so it's just nice. That makes everything that much nicer on all our weapons. Now, for 3 pieces of the striker gear set, you get plus 15% rate of fire, which again affects our weapons. You can look under RPM, but it just makes us be able to release that much more bullets on the enemy, which is just crazy. Now, for the whole enchilada of the entire gear set, the 4-piece bonus, which gives you access to the talent Striker's Gamble. Weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up to 100 times. So, potentially when you have all 100 stacks, you'll get plus 65% weapon damage bonus. It's just crazy. Now, when one stack, you'll have 1 stack lost per second between 0 and 50 stacks. You'll have 2 stacks lost per second between 50 and 100 stacks. So just keep that in mind. But again, we are using the AC-12 shotgun to keep up our stacks or build stacks as needed. So that's, as long as you're using that and keep them up, it's not that big a deal. In the core attribute of my striker's mask, I have plus 15% weapon damage. In the regular attribute, I have plus 6% crit hit chance rolled and plus 12% crit hit damage mod. Moving on to the striker's gloves, we've already gone over the gear piece bonuses. So in the core attribute, I have plus 15% weapon damage and plus 6% crit hit chance re-rolled. Now for the striker's knee pads, I have 170,000 armor, rolled in the core attribute, and plus 12% crit hit damage. Now for the armor, you want to aim for about 1 million armor. It's just part of the survivability and other talents that we're using that I'll cover later on in the build. But shoot for about 1 million armor, and you can see mine is 1.1 million armor in the bottom left there. Moving on to the Striker's holster, I have 11% weapon damage. You can get maxed out to 15% weapon damage in the core attribute, and plus 6% crit hit chance rerolled in the regular attribute. Now I'm using the Fenrir's chest piece for my chest piece for the brand set bonus and access to the talent, which we'll go over here very soon. But for the Fenrir's brand set bonus, you get plus 10% assault rifle damage, which affects our Foul assault rifle and gives it that much more damage, which is just crazy. Now in the core attribute, I have plus 12.6% weapon damage. You can get maxed out to 15%. In the regular attributes, I have plus 12% crit hit damage, plus 6% crit hit chance rerolled, and a plus 12% crit hit damage mod. Now I'm not using the Striker chest piece because I wanted access to the talent Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 stacks, up to 25 times. So on top of our 65% weapon damage bonus from Striker's Gamble, we can get an extra 25% for 10 seconds of weapon damage on top of that. So 90% weapon damage bonus in total. It's just crazy. Just that much more damage. It gets really nuts. Now that's it for the chest piece. I'm now moving on to the backpack. I'm using the Bellstone Armory backpack for the 1% armor regen, as well as access again to the talent, and we'll go over that in a sec. But that armor regen isn't a lot, but it does come in handy when you're like running from one objective to the next and your armor still isn't fully all the way back up or replenished, and it will replenish it pretty much every time that you're there, or it just gives your armor start regenerating all that much more again. And on top of the armor, 10% armor on kill we get from the gunner specialization and the talent that we'll go over here right after the attributes. So in the core attribute, I have 132,000 armor, again trying to shoot for that 1 million armor. In the regular attribute, I have 3,825 armor regen a second. Now again, that just helps out with the 1% armor regen, but it's not super needed. You can put crit hit damage on that instead if you get a backpack rolled with that. I just didn't feel like farming for one. In the next attribute, I have 5.3% crit hit chance and a plus 12% crit hit damage mod. But this is the big reason why I wanted to have access for this talent, Bloodsucker, which killing an enemy adds and refreshes a stack of 10% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Max stack is 10, so you can get 100% bonus armor for 10 seconds from just killing enemies, which is a big part of our survivability, along with we get 10% armor back on kill from the gunner specialization once again, and armor regen. So that's a big part of our entire survivability. Now we're going to go over the skills, then stats, and then I'll show you the final gameplay footage. So again, I'm using the Banshee Pulse skill, and there are the stats if you want to take a look at it. But the Banshee, what that does is the Banshee launches a forward arc of pulse energy that disorientates enemy, penetrates cover. There are the mods if you want to copy and paste, but I'll show off what that looks as well as what building stacks look like. So there's the arc, and then when you fire it, you see that swirling symbol above their head. That means they're disorientated, so they won't be firing at you and walking certain directions and things like that. So it's really handy to run up, get an enemy, just use the Banshee Pulse, and then use your AC-12 shotgun to build stacks. And you can see in my bottom of my UI there that there's a green Gatling gun looking symbol, and you can see the bar underneath of that. When that's fully filled, that means we have max stacks of Striker, so plus 65% weapon damage. And then the punching fist to the right of it that also has max stacks, that is Obliterate, so that's another plus 25% weapon damage. So that's the 90% weapon damage in total. It's just crazy. Now moving on to the next skill, I'm using the Reviver Hive. It's pretty self-explanatory. It just gives you pretty much an extra life. There are the mods if you want to pause, copy, and paste. But essentially, like if I were to take damage, like so, and then die from it, the Reviver Hive, you don't even have to drop it, but that's just to show a visual representation that it will pick you up and you'll just have that extra life and be able to keep fighting, so that way you don't have to run back or worry about anything like that. So that's why I'm using it. If you want an alternative, I'd highly recommend the Striker Drone or Decoy. Those are always go-tos for me as well, but I wanted the extra life. So now moving on to the stats, and we'll show the final gameplay footage. For my FAL Assault Rifle, I have 119,000 weapon damage, 49.3% crit hit chance. You want to aim for 50% or as close as you can get to 50% crit hit chance with this build, and 110% crit hit damage. But some of the mods I showed where I have crit hit damage, if you don't have enough crit hit chance to 50%, please just replace those crit hit damage rolled stats for crit hit chance, and then once you're at 50%, get as much crit hit damage as you can. Now I have 75% headshot damage, as well as 10% damage targets out of cover. I have 16% health damage, and that's it for the weapon stats. In the offensive, I have 63.6% all weapon damage bonus, 36.3% assault rifle damage bonus, and 15% shotgun damage bonus. We've already gone over the gear talents and brand sets. So moving on to the defensive tree, I have 1,058,000 armor. In the bottom left corner, it's at 1.1 million, but it rounds up. That's the exact number. 105,000 armor on kill, 14,000 armor regen, which again, it's not a big deal, but it helps here and there. 331,452 max health. And that's it for the stats. So I want everyone, please take care, be safe, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.